My boyfriend was picking me up from work. When I pulled open the passenger door, a woman was sitting there perfectly upright. She smiled sweetly. "Han, I get terrible car sickness. You don't mind me sitting up front, do you?" I didn't reply. I shut the passenger door and walked over to the driver's side window. My boyfriend looked apologetic. "It's on her way home. I figured I'd give her a lift." I backhanded him hard across the face. "You pick up a Carsick passenger. What if she dies on the ride?" When Ethan showed up to pick me up, I'd hurried to pack my things and raced downstairs, terrified I'd keep him waiting too long. Today was our anniversary, one we'd been planning for ages. Dinner was just the start. We had a whole night lined up. I hurried to his car and wrenched open the passenger door. My bag nearly went flying straight into the girl's lap. She didn't look surprised at all. She didn't even flinch when my bag almost slipped out of my hands. She just smiled sweetly. "Hi, Han." I froze for a second, confused. I tilted my head and looked at Ethan in the driver's seat. He wore a guilty expression and was about to explain, but the girl spoke first. "Han, I get really bad car sickness. You don't mind me sitting up front, do you?" I glanced back at Ethan's apologetic eyes, and it clicked. He'd let her sit there. He'd said yes. I didn't answer her. I just stepped away from the passenger door. Ethan hurried to unlock the back doors for me, but I didn't head for the back seat. Instead, I walked straight to his window. We'd been together 7 years, 4 in college, 3 working. I knew him inside and out, and he knew me better than anyone. He could tell I was furious. He rolled down the window, still looking guilty. "It's on her way home. I thought I'd give her a lift." I didn't say a word. I backhanded him hard across the face. "You'd drive around with a Carsick passenger. You want to fish a corpse out of your car later." The air went dead still. The smile froze on the girl's face, twisted into something ugly. Ethan looked stunned. He hurried to explain. "Lev, she's not a random stranger. She's Sophia. She works on my team. The restaurant we're going to is right by her place. I figured I'd drop her off on the way." I followed Ethan's gaze and turned my cold stare back to her. The slap had come out of nowhere. Sophia's face had gone pale, and her eyes darted away nervously. I didn't get what she was so scared of. Touching her face would make me need makeup remover just to wash my hands. "Sorry to scare you, sweetie. I'm not gonna hit you." When she spoke again, all her earlier poise was gone. "I'm sorry. I really do get carsick. She kept glancing over at Ethan, looking for backup, but her so-called knight in shining armor was already fumbling with his seatbelt, about to get out and apologize to me. I put a hand on Ethan's shoulder and pushed him back into his seat. "Stay put." The tension was thick enough to cut. Seeing that, Sophia hurried to undo her seatbelt. Her eyes glistened as she looked at Ethan. "Mr. Hayes, don't fight on my account. I can sit in the back. It's fine." She scrambled out of the passenger seat fast, putting on a hurt, selfless act like she was graciously stepping aside for me. "Go ahead. You can sit up front." I put on a sweet, concerned tone. "But sweetie, you get carsick, right? What if you throw up in the back seat?" Her step toward the back door froze mid-motion. She just stood there, stuck. Front seat was off limits. Back seat was now a problem too. She looked completely flustered. I leaned down to look at Ethan. "What do you think?" He must have heard the warning in my voice, because he looked awkward as hell. Finally, he spoke to Sophia, apologetic. "Maybe you should find your own way home. There's just no room in the car right now." "Right. A four-seater doesn't have space for a couple and a wannabe homewrecker." Sophia glanced around, her face falling even further. There were no bus or subway stops near my office. Seat was out in the business park, and hailing a cab was next to impossible out here. That's why I usually had Ethan pick me up. After all, tears finally spilled from her red-rimmed eyes. But she still put on that understanding act. "It's okay, Mr. Hayes. You two go ahead. I could use a walk anyway. Been sitting at my desk all day." I turned on my heel and got into the passenger seat, slamming the door shut. I glanced at Ethan, who was still glancing in the rearview mirror like he felt bad for her, and spoke coldly. "Drive. Take me home. Dinner's off." I was furious. Of all days, he had to ruin our 7-year anniversary with this garbage. My whole good mood was gone. Ethan tore his eyes away from the mirror and spoke in that cajoling tone he used when he wanted me to calm down. Come on, it's just a ride for a new grad. She's fresh out of college. She doesn't know any better. Why get so worked up? Truth be told, I didn't mind him giving coworkers a ride every now and then. It was just a passenger seat. I wasn't some petty little girl who'd throw a fit over nothing, but the way she had no boundaries, the way she'd pushed and tested me right to my face. And Ethan hadn't pushed back. He'd let her. That was the real problem. When I didn't answer, Ethan pulled a small gift box from beside him and held it out to me. One of your anniversary gifts. I didn't take it. When we stopped at a red light, he set the box in both hands and leaned over, nuzzling my arm playfully. Trying to butter me up. Come on, you already slapped me. It's all my fault. But the gift didn't do anything wrong. Please don't take it out on the present. Ethan wasn't classically chiseled or sharp-featured. He was handsome in a soft, clean, boy-next-door kind of way, with those warm, almond-shaped eyes of his, all droopy and pleading. He was impossible to stay mad at, especially when his right cheek was already swelling red from my slap. I took the box and opened it. Inside was a silver bangle. Nothing fancy, just the kind of bracelet every little girl grows up with. Just sized for an adult. Over the years he'd given me dozens of gold bangles, but this was the first silver one. Tears pricked my eyes. He'd remembered. When I was little, my parents favored my brother over me. I'd built everything I had from scratch. All on my own. No matter how much money I had in the bank now, there'd always been that quiet little girl inside me, sad that she'd never gotten that simple silver bangle every other kid had. Ethan glanced over and saw my expression soften. He jumped on the chance. Live. I booked that restaurant a month in advance. Come on, do it for the food. At least, honor us with your presence. I finally cracked a smile. It was just a stupid little thing. After all, fine. But those stupid little things kept piling up. Ethan's department was having a team dinner, and he'd told me spouses were welcome. He was supposed to pick me up, but he'd called last minute to say something had come up and he couldn't make it. The line was noisy, and I could hear whooping and teasing in the background. A sick feeling settled in my stomach. I didn't know why I felt so off until I walked into the restaurant. The second I pushed open the door, I saw Ethan surrounded by his team, everyone egging him on to drink. And right next to him was Sophia. She sat there all shy and demure, gazing up at him like he hung the moon. When Ethan tossed back his drink, Sophia casually held out her own juice glass to him. He took it and drained it in one go. The whole exchange was so smooth, so natural, like they'd done it 100 times. Come on, boss. You can't keep covering for her next round, one of his teammates joked. Ethan was clucking over her like a mother hen. You guys know Soph doesn't drink. Why keep pushing her? Lay off. If you've got a problem, take it up with me. She owes you 1 drink. I'll drink 3 to make up for it. Watching from across the room, my stomach turned. I wanted to turn right around and leave. Out of sight. Out of mind. But my hand was already on the doorknob when I decided I wasn't walking away from this. I marched straight over to the table. Ethan saw me and stood up right away, introducing me to everyone. Everyone. This is my girlfriend. We're getting engaged next month. His coworkers all greeted me warmly, calling me the future Mrs. Hayes. I smiled. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia, Ethan's girlfriend. I glanced at Sophia out of the corner of my eye, then added for the whole table. Of course. I'm the girlfriend who's actually gonna marry him, not the kind of female friend who's only around to ruin other people's weddings. The table went dead silent. Everyone exchanged awkward glances. No one dared say a word. I knew I was being blunt. They say you don't kick a man when he's down, and most women would have saved the fight for home, kept up appearances in public, swallowed their anger and dealt with it later. Not me. If I wasn't gonna sleep tonight, neither was anyone else. Sophia's face had gone sheet white, and her eyes were red-rimmed again. Ethan hadn't expected me to say that. He laughed awkwardly, trying to smooth things over. She's just kidding around. Come on, sit down, sit down. Everyone else followed his lead, chuckling nervously. And the atmosphere loosened up a little. As soon as I sat down, I looked straight at Sophia. Heard you don't drink. She stared down at her lap, looking nervous. I I just graduated college. I don't really drink much. I picked up the liquor bottle and filled both our glasses to the brim. Want me to teach you? My tone left no room for argument. Sophia didn't dare say no. Okay. She screwed up her courage and lifted the glass, but right before she could drink it, I snatched it away. I handed it straight to Ethan, smiling sweetly. Sweetie, if you drank yourself to death, I'd be thrilled, but I'd still be on the hook for it. Your life might not be worth much, but I don't want to waste the money. My words were brutal. Slap after verbal slap to the face. Sophia's poor little innocent act was slipping. I caught a flash of malice in her eyes. Her fists clenched tight at her sides, then relaxed, clenched, then relaxed. I was almost waiting for her to snap, but then Ethan had had enough. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me to my feet, marching me straight toward the restrooms. He sighed. Lev, what is wrong with you today? Why are you being so hard on Sophia? She's just a kid. Fresh out of college. I wrenched my wrist free and rubbed the spot where his fingers had dug in. I frowned and spoke plainly. If she can't drink, she could have skipped the dinner. If she can't drink, she could have asked someone else to cover for her. If she can't drink, she could learn. There are 100 solutions. But you chose to step in and protect her. Ethan laughed, exasperated, and softened his tone. So that's what this is about. Lev. She's my intern. I have to look out for her a little. You don't work in our industry, you don't know how tough it can be for new girls. If it bothers you that much, I'll back off next time. Okay, that was always Ethan. No matter if I was right or wrong. No matter how mad I got or how badly I embarrassed him, he was always the first to apologize. That's why I'd said yes when he proposed. That's why I'd thought we could build a life together. I stared at him coldly. Ethan, we're getting engaged next month. Do you remember that? Of course I do. He wrapped his arms around me, all playful and pleading. I begged you for 7 whole years to say yes. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and lit up the screen. It had a photo of me on it. And a countdown to our engagement day. I look forward to it every single day. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, nuzzling me like a puppy. I couldn't deny it. My resolve was melting. Questions raced through my head. Am I really gonna call off the wedding over this? Over 7 years with a man who's always been good to me. Is it even that big of a deal? A ride home for a coworker, covering his intern's drink, sipping her juice. I turned it all over in my head and asked myself again, is it really worth throwing everything away? I was exhausted. I didn't go back to the dinner. I went home early. Ethan said he'd come home after the dinner ended. He never showed. At 2 in the morning, I got a picture message. Hey, Mr. Hayes had too much to drink. I didn't know where you guys lived. So I brought him back to my place. Don't worry. I'll take good care of him. Attached was a selfie Sophia had taken with Ethan. Their faces were so close they were almost touching. Sophia was in a low-cut top, and Ethan was passed out on pink lace sheets. His cheeks flushed bright red. Off to the side, accidentally in frame, was Sophia's lingerie. Tossed right next to Ethan's hand. My blood ran cold. It felt like something inside me shattered. I sat by the window and stared at the moon, replaying 7 years of memories in my head. From stupid, awkward college kids to a couple about to get married. I didn't sleep a wink all night. I saved the photo she'd sent. At 4 a.m., I logged into Ethan's messaging apps. I opened his work group chat, his department chat, his family group chat and sent the photo to all of them. No caption, just the picture. Then I called in sick for the day, locked my bedroom door, and crawled under the covers to sleep. It was still dark out when Ethan was jolted awake by his phone blowing up with call after call. He answered groggily. His dad's roar came blasting through the line. Ethan Hayes, you ungrateful idiot, where are you right now? He was still half asleep from all the alcohol he'd drunk the night before. He mumbled, I'm at home. Where else would I be? His dad snapped back. Who is that woman in bed with you? You're supposed to be marrying Olivia in a month. How could you do this? Your mother and I are mortified. You've disgraced this family. His dad was yelling so loud that Ethan woke up fully. He rubbed his head and sat up, annoyed. Who else would be here? It's just Lev. He turned his head mid-sentence, and his voice died in his throat. Sophia was curled up on the edge of the bed, still in her clothes from the night before, like she'd sat up with him all night. She woke up too. She lifted her head, and the top button of her shirt had popped open, giving a clear hint of what was underneath. Her voice was soft and sultry, thick with sleep. Mr. Hayes. What's wrong? Her voice carried right through the phone to Ethan's dad. There was a beat of dead silence. Then he roared so loud it made Ethan's ears ring. Ethan Hayes, you get your ass home right now. This instant. Ethan hung up the phone. Terrified and completely confused. How did I end up here? Sophia still had no idea what was going on. You drank way too much last night. I didn't know your address. So I brought you back to my place. Ethan closed his eyes and thought back. Fragments of memory came back. He'd been so wasted. Sophia had offered to take him to her place, and he'd agreed. Hated the thought of waking Olivia up, since she slept so poorly. As she spoke, Sophia picked up her phone and scrolled through her messages. Don't worry. I texted Olivia to let her know. She's not gonna be upset. Her words cut off abruptly. All the blood drained from her face as she stared at the screen. The main company chat and department chat were dead silent, but the smaller friend group she'd joined was blowing up. When she got to the office, Sophia wore sunglasses, trying to act like everything was fine, but everyone was staring at her, subtly or not. The 5-minute walk from the front door to her desk felt like it took a month. She tried to act casual, chatting with another new intern. The contract from yesterday all good. Anything I need to tweak. But the other intern just turned right back to their computer, like they hadn't heard a word. Sophia asked another senior coworker if she needed help with anything, but that woman was married with a kid, and she hated girls like Sophia more than anything. She let out a cold laugh. Oh, I wouldn't dare ask you for help. What if you ended up helping your way into my husband's bed? I'd never live it down. Sophia sat back down, humiliated. Tears leaked out from under her sunglasses. Her eyes already swollen from crying. She knew she couldn't stay at this job anymore. After she finished her exit paperwork, she walked to Ethan's office. She took off her sunglasses, revealing her red, puffy eyes. She bowed her head and apologized. Mr. Hayes, I really was just trying to take care of you last night. I had no idea Olivia would get this upset. She bit her lip to hold back tears, but her shoulders shook anyway. She forced a smile. I already turned in my resignation. I just wanted to wish you and Olivia a happy wedding. In advance. Ethan looked at the poor, broken girl in front of him. She was just a kid, fresh out of college. No girl deserved to have her reputation dragged through the mud like this. And now she'd lost the job she'd worked so hard to get. Rage bubbled up in his chest. He'd never been this angry before. He stormed out of the office and raced home. He knocked again in Ein, but no one answered. He knew Olivia was doing it on purpose. He kicked the door hard, bursting it open, and marched inside furious. He ripped the covers right off me. Olivia, did you have to go that far? You were new once too. Why would you ruin a kid like that? I've told you 100 times nothing happened between us. Why do you have to be so controlling? You're a woman too. Don't you get how much something like this can destroy a young girl? How did I never see how cruel you are? Have I just spoiled you rotten this whole time? I stared at Ethan, yelling at me like this. In all these years, it had never happened before. I opened my mouth to speak, but I had nothing left to say. I'd thought after sitting up all night, I'd already cried all the tears I had. But now, a sharp, aching sadness welled up in my chest. Impossible to hold back. 7 years. 7 whole years. Ethan wasn't just my boyfriend, was family. We'd built everything together. Side by side. One clear thought popped into my head. It was over. All of it. 7 years. Just falling apart like this. We didn't fight long. He slammed the door and left. There was nothing left to fight about. Really, to him, it was all nothing. He hadn't cheated physically. So in his eyes, he was innocent. To me, a stain on a white dress is a stain. It doesn't matter how big the spot is. He moved out. Said he'd stay at the house we'd bought for our marriage for a while. Give me time to come to my senses. I looked around our little apartment, the one we'd rented together since college graduation. It wasn't big, but it was home. He'd proposed to me right here, and now he'd yelled at me here. Over some other girl. I slowly packed up my things. I'd accepted the relocation offer my company had been pushing on me. I was good at my job, and they'd been trying to promote me and send me to another city for ages. I'd always said no. Because we were supposed to get married and I didn't want to be far from him. Funny how things work out. I'd been ready to hold myself back for him. But when someone's wrong for you, the universe keeps shoving it in your face until you see it. Ethan never reached out again, but our parents wouldn't stop calling. Ethan had explained everything to his parents, and they kept apologizing to me. Over and over. My parents had heard about it too. My mom came over to talk some sense into me. Lev, we know what happened. Stop being stubborn with Ethan. You're about to get married, and at the end of the day, nothing actually happened between him and that girl. I've been married a long time. Trust me, don't hold on to every little thing. Every marriage has its compromises. You learn to look the other way. I've watched him all these years. That boy loves you with everything he has. Are you really gonna throw 7 years away over something this small? I didn't say much. I knew no one else could understand how it felt. Not really. 7 years of stuff takes a lot of boxes. And with the relocation coming up, I had a ton of work to hand off. I was swamped those 2 weeks, running on fumes. Then a text popped up on my phone. It was Sophia. Hey, how do you adjust the hot water in this house? Ethan's not here and I can't figure it out. Attached was a photo of the shower head in the bathroom. My hand froze mid-fold, holding a shirt. A wave of pure, unadulterated disgust washed over me. That was our house, the one we'd bought for our marriage, and he'd let her move in. Before I could process it, more texts came through. Oh, and don't get the wrong idea. I just graduated, and I lost my job. So I can't afford rent right now. Ethan said since he used to be my boss, I could stay here for a little while. He's gonna help me find a new job, and I'll move out as soon as I get paid. Don't worry, I won't be a freeloader. I'll take good care of Ethan for you. I forced down my rage, picked up my phone, and typed back a single line. Dead pigs need boiling water. The shower won't get hot enough to scald. The engagement dinner was fast approaching, between both sets of parents nagging us and Ethan's own assumptions. Everyone thought this was just another fight, so the plans for the dinner were still going ahead. The night before, Ethan texted me, Lev, can we stop fighting? Tomorrow's our engagement day. Let's make up. I was about to snap back at him, but then an idea hit me. I picked up my phone. Okay. Ethan called me immediately. He sounded over the moon. Lev, I was so scared you'd never talk to me again. I've missed you so much these past few days. I've been thinking about everything, and I'm gonna be so much better to you. I promise. Baby, just say you'll still marry me. I asked flatly. Where are you right now? At the house, he said, laughing. Hey, if you're not mad anymore, we can move back in together right after the engagement tomorrow. Oh, Sophia's voice yelped in the background. Baby, I gotta go. Something came up. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Okay. Ethan hung up in a hurry. I smiled to myself and called his dad. Uncle Hayes. Ethan and I were talking, and we wanted to drop off some gifts for the relatives before the dinner tomorrow. They're all at the house right now. It's not too late, so I rented a bus to come pick everyone up from the hotel. I led 20 or 30 relatives from both sides up to the house. Lev, you get more beautiful every day, Aunt Hayes said, squeezing my arm. Don't you worry, your uncle and I gave that boy a piece of our minds. He's gonna shape up and treat you right from now on. If he pulls another stunt like this, I'll break his legs myself. Uncle Hayes chimed in. I just smiled and said nothing. Something told me Ethan's legs were already on track to get broken. My parents were relieved too. They thought I'd come to my senses and was ready to make things work with Ethan. I led everyone into the elevator and up to the front door. I didn't knock. I just punched in the passcode. The door swung open. The front door opened straight onto the living room couch. And there was Sophia, eyes red and puffy like she'd just been crying. She was wearing a silk camisole, nothing underneath. Her chest peeking through the thin fabric. Not bad shape. I thought dryly to myself. She'd hitched up her skirt with one hand, baring her pale thigh. There was a small cut high up on her leg, near her hip, and Ethan was kneeling in front of her, carefully dabbing ointment on it. Ethan froze. His hand hung in midair. The room went dead silent. The relatives right by the door didn't know whether to go in or turn back. The ones crowded in the hallway behind them were shoving forward, muttering, "Come on. Go in already." 10 seconds later, Ethan snapped out of it and jumped to his feet. Sophia grabbed a blanket off the couch and wrapped it around herself fast. "Arg!" Uncle Hayes roared and stormed into the room. He grabbed a chair and hurled it right at Ethan. Aunt Hayes wasn't far behind. She lunged at Sophia, grabbed a fistful of her hair, and screamed at her. "You again, you little tramp. How dare you hang around my son like this? You're nothing but trash." Chaos erupted. My parents stood off to the side, faces thunderous. My dad was about to grab a chair too, but my mom held him back. She stared at Ethan with pure disgust. "That's their family mess, not ours. If we hurt their son, we'd have to pay for it. Let them handle it." The rest of the relatives had all sorts of looks on their faces. They'd all traveled in for the engagement dinner tomorrow. The younger cousins were sneaking videos on their phones. The ones in the back were craning their necks, desperate not to miss a second of the drama. I poured my parents 2 glasses of water and pulled them over to the dining table to sit down. "If you're gonna watch a show, you might as well be comfortable." 30 minutes of yelling and hitting later. Uncle Hayes was worn out and Aunt Hayes had run out of insults. The room finally went quiet. Ethan was on the floor, beaten black and blue by his dad. Uncle Hayes had kept his promise. It looked like Ethan's leg might actually be broken. Sophia's hair was a mess. Her makeup was running, and there were clumps of hair all over the floor. She wanted to cry but didn't dare. She was just frozen in shock. Ethan saw my parents and me sitting off to the side and panicked. He half crawled over to us. "Live. It's all a misunderstanding. Sophia cut her leg. I was just putting ointment on it. Nothing happened between us, I swear." My mom looked at him, furious now that she'd ever told me to put up with this. My dad picked up his water glass and slammed it to the floor, shattering it. He didn't say a word. He just stood up and pulled me toward the door. Ethan's parents hurried after us, grabbing for my parents' arms. "Future in-laws, please, we'll take care of that little harlot. We promise." "What about the engagement dinner tomorrow?" My mom wrenched her arm away. "Engagement? After this? If you're that desperate for an engagement, all your relatives are already here." My mom nodded at Sophia on the floor. "Have your son get engaged to her tomorrow. Your family has too much baggage and too little decency. We're way out of your league." With that, she stormed out, face thunderous. Ethan's parents couldn't hold her back no matter how hard they tried. On the ride home, my parents kept glancing at me like they wanted to say something. Finally, my mom spoke up. "Lev, I was wrong before. I told you to put up with it. And I was wrong." I smiled and leaned my head on her shoulder. "Some things you just have to see for yourself." The engagement was called off the next day. I blocked Ethan on everything and left the city for good. Ethan never saw it coming. He'd been so close, one step away from getting engaged, from marrying the girl he loved. His parents had yelled at him for hours in the hospital, but he couldn't help feeling wronged. Nothing had actually happened between him and Sophia. He'd kept thinking it was just another fight. 7 years didn't just end overnight. Until 2 weeks later, Ethan got out of the hospital and went back to their apartment. The place they'd lived in together for years was completely empty. That's when it hit him. Olivia was really gone. She didn't want him anymore. He called her over and over, frantic. But the calls never went through. He went to her office, only to find out she'd already left the city. Before I'd left, I'd told everyone at work not to tell Ethan where I'd gone. But 2 months later, he found me anyway. I was walking out of work when I saw his car parked by the entrance. In just 2 months, Ethan looked like a completely different person. He was gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes. He'd shaved just for the meeting. I could tell. His eyes were red. "Lev, can we talk?" I looked at the man I'd loved for 7 years, and finally nodded. I walked over to his car. No one in the passenger seat this time. "I hope." He gave a bitter laugh. "No one. Never again." We sat in a coffee shop, and Ethan stared at me for so long I thought he'd never speak. Finally, he did. "Lev, you look different, happier, lighter." I tucked a strand of my newly permed hair behind my ear. "When you leave the wrong person, you start to feel like yourself again. It's only natural." He laughed. bitter and self-deprecating. So what we had was wrong. I didn't answer. Ethan's eyes glistened, just like they always did when he'd beg me to make up after a fight. Lev, I know I messed up. I deleted Sophia's number. Blocked her on everything. He held up his hand like he was swearing an oath. I swear I never liked her. Nothing ever happened between us. Looking at him, I felt a twist of conflicting emotions, sadness, and a faint, bitter amusement. I'd asked myself the same question 100 nights in a row. Nothing happened. He loves you. Is this really worth throwing away 7 years? Is it that big of a deal? After all those sleepless nights, I'd finally figured it out. Yes, it was worth it. I wasn't gonna trap myself in a relationship that made me small, just for the sake of 7 years. I steadied my voice and spoke. Ethan, I believe you never loved her. I believe nothing physical ever happened between you two. A flicker of hope lit up his eyes. But you knew none of it was right. Her sitting in your passenger seat wasn't right. Covering her drinks wasn't right. Letting her live in our house wasn't right. There were so many little things, none of them huge on their own. But you let them happen. You let her cross line after line. And you expected me to just step back and take it. You might not have loved her. But you cared about her. You coddled her. You liked feeling like her hero. He stood up, about to argue, but I cut him off. Ethan, just answer me one thing. If all this had happened our first year together, would you have let any of it slide? My question was sharp, unflinching. He froze, turning the question over in his head. After a long minute, he sank back into his seat, defeated. We both knew the answer. If it had been our first year, he never would have let any of it happen. He would have run a mile before letting another girl come between us. Ethan looked broken. He spoke like he was asking me. But really he was asking himself. How did it come to this? I love you. I really do. Maybe he still loved me, but the second he started feeling sorry for another girl, started coddling her and putting her feelings before mine, no matter how much he loved me, we were never gonna make it. Half a year later, I was settled in my new city. I had a new partner, a new life. Ethan never reached out again after that day at the coffee shop. But Sophia showed up out of nowhere. Gone was that shy, innocent little girl act. I scoffed. Wow. Dropped the wide-eyed newbie routine. Huh. I was still sharp, still blunt with her, but she didn't get mad this time. She looked me up and down. I used to wonder what was so special about you. What made Ethan so crazy about you? No matter what I did, he always kept me at arm's length. I never got close to his heart. She laughed bitterly. Yeah, I was faking it. All of it. But no matter how hard I tried, he never looked at me the way he looks at you. As she spoke, hatred glinted in her eyes. I sat quiet, sipping my juice. She kept going, like she couldn't stop. I really do love him. It's not about his job or his money. He's so kind, so thoughtful. She lifted her chin and stared at me, venom in her voice. But you take him for granted. You order him around like he's nothing. Olivia, you don't deserve him. I set down my glass, almost amused. Ethan was ancient history to me. I didn't have the energy to argue with her. I stood up. Ethan and I were together 7 years. That thoughtfulness, that patience, I helped shape that. We went from college kids to working adults together. We got through every hard thing side by side. You don't get to decide who deserves who. With that, I turned to leave. Behind me, Sophia spoke. Bitter but resigned. He really does love you. He hasn't forgotten you. Not once this whole year. Just go back to him, please. I swear I'll never show up again. As long as you two are happy, as long as he's happy. I was a little surprised. I turned back, and for the first time, my voice wasn't sharp. I never look back. I only move forward. Another 6 months passed. A call came from an unknown number. I stared at it for a second, then answered. It was Ethan. Live. I've had so much time to think. I finally get what I did wrong. Can you give me another chance? For 7 years. I swear I'll never mess up again. I felt nothing. No. Just then, a baby cried in the background. Ethan paused, confused. Live. What are you doing? I glanced over at my husband, who was scrambling to change our newborn's diaper. I'm on maternity leave. Hey there, could you rate this story in the comments? Use a scale of 1 to 10. Please, I am begging you. It really means a lot to me. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit follow.